Lampart.
Hi.
Hi. I am so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. I love Testify Creative.
You're always just such a bright light at Testify Creative Studios.
Thank you.
And this person that we're going to talk about today, I always associate Pee-Wee Herman with you.
That is one of the biggest. I'm taking my glasses off for this. I'm getting relaxed. That's one of the biggest compliments anyone's ever given me, and I've gotten that a couple times.
I mean, it's well deserved. You've put in the work.
Thank you. It's nice to be recognized.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but like Pee-Wee, especially with this documentary that we'll talk through about today, but like I think I've just been reflecting on like how lucky our generation was to have him.
I was just thinking about like we're entering a time where people not that much younger than us are like, wait, what's Pee-wee's Big Adventure? I almost had a heart attack. My coworker, I heard him being like, oh yeah, and he like loses his bike, and then he like the whole movie is him trying to get his bike back, and I go, I'm sorry, are you explaining the plot of Pee-wee's Big Adventure to somebody? And
Right.
They didn't know what he was talking about.
That is insane.
I'm so glad I finally had somebody to talk to about that. It's been weighing on me.
No.
Like 2 months.
No. I mean, because that is the level of prevalence that he had in our childhood. And I think for me too, because I famously did not have cable as a child.
Same.
I didn't know you also didn't have cable.
I know. I grew up in New York on like WPIX 11. Channel 13 was PBS.
Yep.
We had like Channel 2, I think was CBS. Channel 4, Channel 5. That was about it.
Same here. That
was it.
Here. And like, I don't ever get anyone's Nickelodeon references. I don't know like that whole part. I saw like some of it at my grandma's house, but
Same.
I really did not have access to cool shit.
We had one cousin that we like didn't see a lot, but when we did, we'd go over and Nickelodeon would be on, and you'd be like, what? Like a whole different world. Like kids are getting slimed.
Right. The sliming.
Excuse me?
The FOMO that non-cable children felt around sliming is just something else.
It really is. It's like, yeah, it's comparable to those kids that had the talking Elf doll or even the talking Pee-wee doll, and those kids that merely could just pass by one in the store.
Absolutely. And never mind the fact, I mean, the American Girl doll children, that was just a totally different.
I wasn't part of that train. Thank goodness. I was not. I had zero interest in American Girl dolls. Put that on the record. Not that I'm bragging about that.
You are kind of. You are a little bit.
Okay. I didn't mean to. Mad respect for American Girl dolls.
At the very least, mad jealousy. On my part.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like as a kid who didn't have cable, honestly, Pee-wee was such an event. And such an inclusive place and so fun and so entertaining and so weird that I feel like for me, he filled that hole in a way that like I almost didn't even know truly what I was missing because we had Pee-wee.
Yeah, we had it. I never felt, I was always a weird kid.
Yeah.
And it didn't, I mean, I remember a kid's mom being like, you're strange. Do you know that? And I was like, so?
Aww.
Like, yeah, I do. So?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? You're boring.
Exactly. I mean, and like the 80s and the early 90s, it was such a conformist place that to have something occupy like such a central place of youth culture.
Yeah. I mean, it was like my mom had a best friend who had a kid who was my best friend, you know, by default. And he had a bar mitzvah, and he wore a gray suit with a red bow tie. It was like, that's all he wanted.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, hey, Pee-wee. I mean, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
Huge deal. We all had the same inside joke, and we'll get a little bit more to like what the aesthetic did to our generation. But all right, well, let's get into our friend Paul Reubens. So Paul Reubens, he is actually born Paul Rubenfield, or Paul Rubenfeld. I'm actually not sure the correct pronunciation. In Peekskill, New York. And he was also raised in Sarasota, Florida, which is a place that will have a lot of significance for him later in life.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very colorful.
There's something very Florida. You're right. The vibrancy of Paul feels very Florida.
Yeah.
in the documentary, Pee-wee as himself, which I will of course link to in the show notes, you guys. They talk about how Sarasota was a place where the Ringling Brothers would winter, the circus.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's been a couple weeks since I've seen the doc. You know what I mean? Like, but it's still vibrant in my mind. But like when they showed the people, like he had all that footage of the people, and it was like, oh, these people are in his movies.
Yes,
it was such a cool connection. It was like, I know that person is in that scene. Basically,
exactly.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see that.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's kind of like what we're talking about. I mean, if you were a kid who had a little circus in you,
yeah,
which is like most kids, right?
Yeah.
Like I think we are all born creative, and we are all born circus folk.
I don't disagree. I mean, my brother and I were always like doing some kind of performance in the basement. I mean, our grandfather had a video camera. He was just always like smoking cigarettes and like, yeah, what are you doing? Put on a show, you know? And so there was always an outlet for it. But yeah, kids, I think, naturally want to go crazy like that. Not crazy, but like kids, what other person can just be like, whoa, 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 you know? And it's just like, oh, they're getting something out right now.
Exactly.
Like they're making something going on in there, you know? Like, I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying. And it's the combination of whimsy and like a little bit of grotesqueness.
Yeah.
There's glamour. I think, Paul Reubens said that's something that was very enticing to him about the circus people in Sarasota. Is like, he was like, this is show business.
Yeah.
Which, again, I do think it's so beautiful that a piece of art, which I do think Pee-wee's Playhouse was, that's meant for children, really had its creative origins in the circus.
I just had a wild memory. So I mentioned my mom's best friend, my friend, he had the Pee-Wee Herman bar mitzvah. I remember a birthday party he had at McDonald's. We were allowed to get our face painted. And there was like 3 girls at the party. They got rock stars. And all the boys got pirates, like beards.
Yeah.
And I wanted the beard.
Yeah. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Fuck
and
yeah.
everybody was like, why'd you get a beard? And I was like, I'm a bearded lady. Like, what? Duh? Excuse me? I'm a bearded lady. What do you mean? Like, when else am I going to, like, wow. That's where that came from.
Yeah. It's because you were a Pee-wee kid. And also because, like, you are a circus person.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah. That's so funny because I actually, not as cool as the bearded lady, which is like an actual joke, but my brother had a Ninja Turtles birthday party where all his invités were boys. But I was there because he was my brother.
Yeah.
And same thing, you could get your face painted like a Ninja Turtle, and they tried to do Miss April eyeshadow on me, and I was like, no Leonardo.
Yeah. Give me a break.
Yeah. I'm 9. You think I want eyeshadow? No.
And who's a mystery rock star?
Yeah.
No, I want to be the bearded lady.
Thank you.
Capitalized.
Exactly.
I thought it was hysterical.
I still think it's hysterical.
Thank you.
So Pee-wee comes from this circus place. He also, as a kid, he's a theater kid, and he grew up watching like Captain Kangaroo and the Mickey Mouse Club, which I think you also see in what ultimately becomes Pee-wee's Playhouse. Is like those are both shows where, I don't know, like no matter what, I think I got really emotional watching this documentary because it really like tapped into these. Honestly, like it's hard for me to even talk about him without crying because that's how much he means to me. Like his show and the idea of a clubhouse was so inclusive.
Yeah. Like you see on TV, like black people are like the assistant or the nurse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The king of cartoons.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Exactly. And it was like, what the fuck? Nobody else was doing that in children's programming in the late 80s and early 90s. And he talks in the documentary about how much he oversaw every single element of it, certainly including the casting, and how important that was to him. And also, I kind of think what we're talking about of this kind of very gendered behavior that we were subject to as little kids before we should have been really gendered at all.
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Playhouse was a place where before I understood like what queer culture was, it was like, fuck gender. Everything's fluid. Like, Girls are welcome. Boys are welcome. Everyone's fucking welcome. Like, this is just a fun place.
I totally forgot about him simply walking in high heels and how funny that was. He wasn't doing anything. It was just him having a really good time walking in high heels. And even my mom liked Pee-Wee Herman.
Yes.
Who, like, I mean... There's a lot, but I mean, to that's a testament. Like moms were in hysterics over Pee-Wee Herman,
and that is so rare to find something that kids think is funny and that adults can tolerate.
Yeah, it was almost like we bonded over it.
Totally.
Like there's not much that we were doing like that, but Pee-Wee kind of tied it all together.
1,000%. Another thing that I think is interesting about his origin town. So his name, like I said, is Paul Reubens. His stage name becomes Pee-Wee, but his stage name before the stage name is Paul Reubens. Sarasota, Florida, is actually also home to the painter Peter Paul Reubens. Like, have you heard the idea Rubenesque?
Yeah.
They have like a huge collection in the art museum there of Peter Paul Reubens.
Oh.
So I was like, that may be where he got his like SAG name
now
from.
I want to like look up all of that art.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And art, of course, ends up being a huge part in Pee-Wee's life. So after he leaves Sarasota, he kind of knows, like, I got to be in showbiz. Like, he's this very creative theater kid, and he enrolls in Cal Arts.
He finds all his freaks. It's so beautiful to see that.
Yes.
Like, I can't believe he was just sitting on all of this stuff
I
for
know.
all these years and not showing anybody. It's all so beautiful and fascinating.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, in the documentary, there's this amazing archival footage of Pee-Wee, and at this point, it's Paul Reubens, and he's a college kid, and he's very gender fuck. Like, he's doing drag, he's really playing with the ideas of gender and identity.
He's being really edgy. My favorite scene that he showed in the archives is just him as Jesus on the cross.
Yes!
And he just is there, and he just goes, hello. We love you. We love him so much.
We love him so much because it's so weird.
It's so good. It's so funny and so pure, and at the same time like a little naughty, but like pure.
Yeah.
Still so pure.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of reminds me, a comedian that I really like is our friend Ron Lynch, like, who I think it kind of reminds me of Ron Lynch's comedy a little bit, where it gets very Looney Tunes.
Very Looney Tunes.
But it's like stoned Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit weird, but it's still Looney Tunes. Like, at its heart is just like kind of the very basic musical elements
just
of comedy.
Silly.
Yeah.
Just so silly.
Yeah. So he's super out and proud, like he's having a great time at Cal Arts. And while he's at Cal Arts at a party, he meets the love of his life. Okay, this part made me cry too.
I had no idea. I mean, nobody had any idea.
No one had any clue. Yeah. So he falls in love with this guy named Guy. And they get this apartment that looks amazing in Echo Park.
Echo Park. I want to know where it is so badly.
Me
I tried to go
too.
on a little deep dive, and I found somebody was like, oh, it's kind of over here, but I didn't really get into it. But like, I think we can find it.
That would be a great mission for us, because I bet
Yeah.
the energy even outside of it is like amazing.
100%. And they gardened, and
They had a kitty.
yeah.
And also, like, I love that, like, he knew that Echo Park was like the place to live.
Yeah.
It's just, he's so fucking cool. But so he's got this, like, he has this very deep and intense love affair with this man, Guy. And this gives me the chills when he said it in the documentary, but he said it was like we were playing house.
Yeah.
So at this point, he's just come to LA, like he's done with Cal Arts. He wants to be like really serious about his career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's pretty undeniable this was a guy that had it. Like
Yeah.
Paul had it. Like,
yeah.
he had to pursue this, right? And so I think he became, you know, according to him in this documentary, he just felt so entwined kind of in this couple.
Yeah. He really, I mean, I don't know if I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, like you can lose yourself in a relationship and forget what you're even setting out to do, because you're like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. No, there's this whole other thing, you know? And so I really felt that, because I feel like my first boyfriend, I was always just sort of like waiting for, you know, to like, this is probably gonna end, right? Like, I don't know, I always knew I needed to go and do something.
Yeah, well, and especially if you are a driven person like that and a creative person who the thing with comedy, and this certainly ends up being the case in Paul's life, but it's a nighttime thing.
Yeah.
And if you're like snuggled up with somebody with your kitty and
It's
you're
easy to not want to leave.
Mm-hmm. So he's in his early 20s, so he ends that relationship because he really wants to pursue his career. This is very cool, I think. He immediately joins the Groundlings, which is brand new. The Groundlings is like, he kind of is there during this lightning in a bottle moment at the Groundlings.
Somehow I didn't know that until the documentary.
Oh.
I'm like embarrassed about all the stuff I didn't know about him.
Kind of same, TBH.
But that's another reason I loved the documentary, because I was just like, oh, wow, okay, all right. That makes so much sense, though.
It makes so much fucking sense. And I knew it because I'm actually surprised you never did Groundlings.
I didn't. I was a Second City girl. And
okay.
So, I don't know. I never branched out into the Groundlings. But, it's okay.
It's okay. But it's okay. Maybe you should still do it.
Anybody have a few grand?
Anyone have $1 million? No, but
couple grand.
I loved the Groundlings. I remember going there and like it felt like Hogwarts to me. Like,
yeah,
it was like the teachers. I mean, the people I was able to take classes from were like really, really hilarious character actors, and like everybody there was funny. And you would just be like on your 10-minute break getting a snack, and there's just fucking hilarious people here and hilarious people here. And I mean, when I was taking classes there, that was, Kristen Wiig, she was in the company when she got SNL. So I saw like Kristen Wiig in that company. Melissa McCarthy hadn't popped off yet. That level of funny people are just hanging out at this like black box theater on Melrose.
Right.
And it's just a very, yes, all the improv schools in LA are cults. For sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
That one always felt a little different.
Yeah, that I do think it's different. I do, and because I also think I think I'm correct on this. I think it's the only like native LA one, because Upright Citizens Brigade came from New York.
Yeah.
Second City came from Chicago. I think Improv Olympic came from Chicago.
Yeah.
The Groundlings it kind of is what it's always been. It's always been its own sort of deal, and just the people that have come out of Groundlings.
Well, that actually kind of makes sense, because like, people are always like, oh, LA is a terrible place to like start comedy. I was like, actually, no. That's where I grew my comedy here. Mm-hmm. I came here and I was like, I don't know, I'm going to do something with comedy. I guess I'll try this improv intensive first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm never going to do stand up, because I thought it was just like one thing,
Yeah.
And it's wild, I didn't know Pee-wee did stand up until years ago when we would do Stick or Treat. And I was like, oh, I really want to do Pee-Wee Herman. So I had to look for clips of him doing stand-up. And, like, hardly anything existed. Luckily, I got a few things. But it just, like, no, LA is a perfect place to experiment with whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yes.
Once I saw Rory Scovel on stage doing stand-up, I was like, oh, it can be whatever you want it to be. And so, the Groundlings being from LA makes perfect sense.
I agree completely. And the other thing that I always really liked about the Groundlings, and the reason I'm sort of surprised you never did it, is I think, focus more on character than any of the other schools.
That's what everybody always told me I should do. Everybody always told me. Sorry, it's okay. Hey, maybe someday. If you got a couple grand.
But that's why so many SNL people come out of there. I mean, like, they are... Improv is definitely like its own sport, and all the other places they really will get you like fine-tuned and like how to like be good at that game. But at the Groundlings, like, there's an entire class you take that is just character, and like
you have to be a strong actor.
Exactly,
that's the thing. You can be a terrible actor and still be pretty good at improv.
Yes, and that means you're probably a good writer.
Yeah.
But that's not going to cut the mustard at Groundlings.
That is not going to cut that mustard, honey.
And this is like the cutest thing in the world, I think, because it's like this like hotbed and this like really cool creative place where all these character people are. At Groundlings, Paul befriends Cassandra Peterson, a.k.a. Elvira.
Mm-hmm.
Pee-Wee Herman and Elvira were besties at Groundlings.
Yeah, I knew because Kevin read Elvira's autobiography,
which I read on his recommendation.
Yeah, so that's how I knew that they were that close. It didn't even make hit me. It took me a long time to realize that was Elvira in that scene.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Like, I was like a full-grown adult, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, she looks so different.
Yeah.
But I think that is very interesting to me that they came up together and started at the same time, and I believe kind of got successful around the same time, because those are both people who made the decision, like, my character is who I am. Like, neither of them ever really broke character in interviews or anything like that.
Yeah, that's why I never knew it was her. 'Cause
Exactly.
I always saw her with that hair and that dress.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, so also at the Groundlings, he befriends Phil Hartman. I mean, it's just like...
That I knew. I knew that was a friendship. I knew, oh my gosh.
To have this many brilliant people just like marinating together and writing shit. So here he is. It's worth mentioning this is the 70s. So just to give like the mid 70s, just temperature check in America. We've just had like the Stonewall riots, or I guess Stonewall protests. The AIDS crisis has just started, and that's created this landscape of like intense homophobia.
Yeah.
There's
truly.
Yeah.
And it feels and like Mr. Rogers got it. Mr. Rogers, people were calling Mr. Rogers gay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like we're gonna find people and we're gonna point a finger and we're gonna make assumptions.
Oh yeah, because it was seen as a morality thing.
Yeah.
And I think AIDS made that even like, rather than have empathy and try to come up with solutions for this group of people that was experiencing this like terrible disease, it was seen as like a moral failing if you were gay. And as we'll unfortunately get into later, like it was becoming more and more common for cops to entrap gay men in public places.
Yeah.
Because also like culturally it was much less acceptable to be out as a gay person. So gay people had to find other gay people. There was no internet.
Yeah.
There were no apps. They literally had to find other gay people in public.
And they couldn't really talk to their elders because they're all dying.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like this terrible time in queer history in America. And so I think as part of that, because Paul Reubens is like really trying to make it in Hollywood and wants to be an actor, he goes from being this person who's very out, very much experimenting with drag and gender and all that, to being closeted around the time that he's in the Groundlings. All right. So while he's at the Groundlings, he and Phil Hartman and their buddy John Paragon develop the Pee-Wee Herman show.
Yeah.
It's based on a character from Pee-wee's character from Groundlings. This part to me, I loved it so much. So they come up. It's kind of like a late night show.
Yeah.
It's like a rowdy late night show. And for those of you guys who don't live in LA, who don't live in LA, the Groundlings is on Melrose. Like there's a few of these like dingy black box theaters in Hollywood and around West Hollywood.
They're great.
Yeah.
They can be magical.
Yeah. I didn't realize until seeing the documentary that was how the Pee-Wee Herman show started.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And I loved it because it reminded me of like our experience in comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, okay, like we're going to tell our friends we're going to put on this show, and then it's going to be like this incredible thing that people are like, oh my God, remember when you guys did that show?
Yeah.
Remember when you did that? Oh, remember when you and Wit did that? You know, like stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
They are little magical spots.
They're super magical, and it's everybody like doing weird shit that you can only do at midnight. It's like alternative, rowdy, bizarre shit that you probably went to the 99-cent store and got some weird props for.
Yeah.
These were certainly at our shows, but I'm picturing at the early Pee-Wee Herman shows too, just like a cooler of beer with like an honor system where you leave some cash.
And you don't exactly know what you're going to see, but you know it's going to be different. You know it's not going to be a normal stand-up show or a normal whatever, you know? Like it's probably going to be something that you'll really remember for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Seeing the early footage of the Pee-Wee Herman show, it reminded me of going to the Walsh Brothers show at UCB, which was also like a late night show, or the Tomorrow Show, Ron Lynch's show. Yeah, these shows have just a special energy to them.
Yeah.
But they're so not where I would think of a children's program originating.
No, but I love it. I've always wanted to make some kind of show that feels like a children's show, but it's for adults, you know? And like he did it.
Yeah. But
did it.
almost like on accident. Like he made an adult show that he, I think, ultimately realized was actually for children.
Yeah.
Or was it for everyone because we still love it? Like,
I think it's for everyone.
Yeah.
That's my friends how you do it. You know?
yes.
It's for everyone.
Yeah. So another like really important thing that happens for Paul and during this period where they're doing the Groundling show is that he hooks up with this artist named Gary Panter,
Oh yeah.
who you had told me a little bit about before the documentary even came out. I think
No, you're thinking of Wayne White.
Okay, never mind. Cut that out. So he hooks up with this artist Gary Panter, who primarily does like legit punk rock
Yes.
posters,
Yeah.
and it's like,
It
yeah,
makes,
dude.
it's perfect.
Yeah. Another thing about that I thought was so cool to see that he had this like punk guy doing the posters is I was like, again, that's what comedy shows do now.
Yeah.
But I don't think people were doing that before Paul Reubens. I don't
Probably
think
not.
anyone had made comedy punk rock.
Yeah. Paul Reubens paved the way for power violence.
Yeah, exactly. And also Power Violence. That was another.
That
punk
was a
rock-
black box. That's immediately where my brain went. was
Exactly.
Power Violence was one of those shows. And so many, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love LA. I mean,
I do too.
I've always loved it, but now like thinking about it in these ways, I love it even more.
Because these are our forefathers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Gary Panter, he does these he has a really cool artistic style. And I think this is so cute. He is so poor as an artist that he doesn't, like, he has to water down his paints with the color white just to, like, save money.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, he starts doing the flyers for the Pee-Wee Herman show, but then he and Paul realize they really, like, share an aesthetic, and Paul's like, help me with the set. And so that is why the set for Pee-Wee's Playhouse is a lot of pastels.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
Saving money, DIY.
and also, by the way, that is why I got into stand-up, is because Groundlings cost money and stand-up didn't. Dead ass.
Yeah. Wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Don't pay money for anything.
And change the world. Like, I'm changing the world with stand-up. I guess at the very least, it's okay to be broke.
Yes.
Yeah, it better be.
It's okay to be broke in LA.
Yeah. Well, it fucking better be.
It's better be. There's no-
So, this show gets so big that while he's doing it in LA, Andy Warhol comes to see it. His hero, Andy Warhol, comes
Could
to
you
see
just
it.
imagine like being on stage and just like looking out the audience and seeing like that hair and those glasses and that turtleneck just like enjoying you?
Like a Muppet in your public?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So amazing. And then right around this time, but the quick Pop Mystery Pod crossover around this time, Paul's popping off with the Pee-Wee Herman show. He's got heat in this town. He gets hooked up with Steve Martin's manager, who's like, this kid has the stuff. By the way, I totally see why Steve Martin's manager would like Paul Reubens. Very similar kind of absurdity. A friend of Steve Martin's manager is this guy, Rich Abramson, who ends up being the person that I just did an episode about that forced Whoopi Goldberg to make a Tyrannosaurus Rex movie. So that is a little crossover.
Wow.
Yeah, Richard Abramson, who forced Whoopi Goldberg to make a Tyrannosaurus.
One more time for the people in the back.
Forced Whoopi Goldberg to make a Tyrannosaurus Rex buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Never forget.
So it's around this time, and again, this is so impressive to me because he doesn't have like a publicist or anything. He just has this like underground punk rock word of mouth show that becomes like the hottest ticket in town. Then our boy starts booking himself appearances on like cable news shows.
Yeah. That's how you do it. Well, they probably want to talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah, like it's such it's so inspired, and it's such a great way to just like, he wasn't even faking it before he made it, I guess, because he already had this underground following, but
Yeah.
it's just a brilliant PR move.
Yeah.
And also, like, I love people that do shit like that. Like, I have too much of a nervous giggle, I think, to get away with something like that, but I love I love like the Sacha Baron Cohens of the world and the Paul Reubens of the world who can just go out and do these kind of shenanigans and not break character.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we got into a shenanigan I will never forget.
That's true.
And I immediately thought of you having to leave the David's Bridal because you were laughing too nervously.
Yeah. Can we just say,
just a quick recap?
We Erin's birthday is April Fool's Day, we should say, if you haven't already picked that up.
And on one of my birthdays, before I ever thought I would get married, I said, let's pull a prank on David's Bridal and bring a fake bridal shower in there, and we'll all try on dresses. And then at the last minute, right before I want to buy the dress, my fake fiance will call the whole thing off, and then we'll go eat Olive Garden.
And it was really fun.
It's beautiful.
I feel like we did pick out a great dress for you.
We were so in it. We were like, we're all wearing these outfits.
Yeah, like I had bought in, and then you got the call from your fake fiance, and my nervous giggle just overtook me. Like I had to excuse.
You had to leave.
Yeah. I'm not good at that kind of prank.
But you are to an extent.
Thank you.
Because you were great.
Thank you.
Until the big moment.
Yeah.
You were nervously giggling the whole time.
Yeah.
But it was appropriate.
Because it seemed like a titter, and then it became clear that it was a giggle. This is the bane of my existence.
We also got a little bit in trouble for trying on prom dresses that were not bridesmaids dresses, and somebody tried on a mother of the bride's dress.
It's like...
We were just having fun.
So these are kids that were raised by Pee-Wee Herman.
Yes.
Like, I know you are, but what am I? Okay, so while he's doing this...
Wait, I'm so sorry. The best part of that is when I had to book the appointment. This is my favorite personal fact, and this is why I know I'm a Pee-Wee Herman kid. I booked the appointment, and they asked for my name. My name is Erin Lampart, but I gave them a fake name, Erin Lamport. Paul Reubens.
Dude.
Paul Reubens.
Dude.
Anyway.
You didn't even know.
I didn't even know. Early influence. Wow.
So while he's making all these appearances, he makes this is when he decides, okay, I am always Pee-Wee. If you see me in public, I'm Pee-Wee. So he's doing shows as Pee-Wee. People start trying to interview him as Paul, and he just kind of starts to not have it. Like,
it's got to be exhausting.
I know.
You know?
I know.
I feel the struggle, like the internal struggle he must have had, like, so, I don't know, maybe.
I know, but I also wonder, I mean, I think certainly after he became like a huge star, it probably was nice in a way to be able to compartmentalize. Like, that's famous me, and this is like me who's going to the grocery store. And I think that having any kind of like public notoriety is this really like fracturing, surreal experience anyway. Like I would guess a lot of celebrities kind of compartmentalize out their like front facing self. Yeah. But also that means you never get to just like kick back.
No.
You're always on.
Yeah. Well, I like to think he was kicking back a little bit.
Oh yeah, like I'm sure around his friends and like his friends and family. And I guess this is before the internet, so like
yes, much easier to lay low.
Yeah. But still, no daylight publicly between Paul and Pee-Wee. So as he becomes more and more famous, he becomes a regular character on David Letterman, which again, were you a Letterman kid?
My older brother was.
Okay.
So, but I'm not so much. I was more of a Conan kid.
Well, same. Yeah. Once Conan was an option, it was like, what else is there?
I don't know what was going on when my brother was. I think I was in bed. I don't know if I was watching Letterman very much, but I did think he was great.
Yeah, I loved Letterman, and I didn't realize until watching the documentary that was really how Pee-Wee became.
Yeah. Well, I kind of learned that when I was on my quest to find him doing some kind of stand-up clip. And I was like, oh, okay, he did a lot of late-night appearances. Which,
again, is really, that's a natural extension of this late-night live show. It's like, oh, it's late-night, weird, after-hours kind of shit, right? So the combination of those two things, he gets a movie deal. And I love, this is Pee-Wee's Big Adventure. And I love that he says in the documentary, he's like, we wrote that whole thing so high.
Do I have to say? I don't have to say anything.
This is our people.
This is our guy. These are our people. R.I.P. Phil Hartman. R.I.P. Pee-Wee Herman. I mean,
I know.
Imagine what else we could have gotten.
I can't even.
You
Because
can't.
I'm not either of them. Like,
No.
and to be and the fact that they were writing this shit on like a typewriter, just smoking joints on the Warner Brothers
and all
lot.
the ideas were already in them.
Yeah,
That's the most inspiring thing, because a lot of times that's what's happening with any artist. Is like we don't even realize that whatever it is we're trying to make or we want to make is already inside of us. We already have the information. We just need something to help pull it out. And for them, it was each other and tons of weed.
Yeah. Oh, and also just like the stars aligning though too, to like give them this bungalow and this funny, and like, again, it was such a weird character and such a weird show. And I love that this was this time in history when it wasn't like, oh, we're only turning action figures into movies or whatever.
Right. Or we're only doing reboots. It was its own thing.
Yeah.
It was its own thing.
And it was just so bizarre, and it's amazing. So the movie's like a huge success. And again, I didn't remember this from my own childhood, because my first exposure to Pee-wee was Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I don't want to age myself, but I will. I saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure in the theater.
You did?
Mm-hmm. It was like one of my first movie experiences.
And what's that like?
It was incredible. I mean, I remember everybody laughing. I remember being scared a little bit. I remember really being scared at Large Marge. I remember the music, hearing that music for the first time. When I watch it now, it is my favorite movie, and I will watch it frequently, maybe 3-4 times a year. And still to this day, when I hear that music, the dream music, dun-it, 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 like I feel I'm back in the theater, and I'm like, what is gonna happen? Like I'm getting chills thinking about it. I don't care. Yeah, I'm old enough that I saw it in the theater. Sue me, Hollywood. You don't even know me. I don't even care. I don't even care. The first time you see him face off with Francis, the first time you see them in that tub, I saw it all.
Oh my God. And so did you realize like this is a thing?
I mean, I already knew that it was a thing because of my friend Todd. You know what I mean? Like somehow my mom knew about Pee-wee, my older brother knew about Pee-wee. Like I don't know these maybe because my brother was a Letterman.
Must have been from your brother watching Letterman.
Yeah, and my mom somehow. So, like, I already knew from hearing my brother do impressions of him, I already was doing my own impressions of him.
Okay.
But, like, really that was my first, like, huge exposure. And it was
lucky.
just, like, I'm, like, hearing all the music right now, and I'm just, like, remembering, like, also it's such a trip to watch it now, because I don't know how old I was, maybe 5. I was pretty young. And I remember all the kids that watch him kind of eat shit on his bike, And to me, those were like big kids.
Yeah.
Those were like big, cool kids. And then watching it again as an adult, I'm like, wow, it's such a trip to like be a little kid and think other kids
are like teens.
Big kids.
Yeah.
All that stuff, that whole movie, I feel like whenever I watch it, it is just as fresh as when I sat in the theater.
Well, not only is it this amazing, like groundbreaking piece of art because of the cast and because of Paul Reubens, but it's also
beautiful.
Tim Burton's first feature movie.
It's beautiful.
Which again, for our generation, Tim Burton, I think, is someone who is so influential and has made so many important movies and influenced our collective aesthetic in such a way.
Which is wild that these people didn't know. These people specific people I'm talking about that didn't know about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They're Tim Burton fans.
Okay.
I mean, how do you call yourself a Tim Burton fan and a filmmaker? These people are filmmakers.
Oh, God. Probably also in Echo Park. They probably Am I right?
I work at a bar in Echo Park. Where do you think this conversation happened?
Thank you. That's what I assumed. But so, and again, like I knew that obviously Tim Burton directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but seeing the footage of Tim Burton talking about working with Paul, it was like, yeah, like what a beautiful meeting of minds.
Yeah.
What two creative forces that really did need to combine and like make something together.
It's perfect. And it again, the vibrance. It's so colorful.
Yes.
And I think that's another reason why I was just like it really, I don't know. And you know me, I don't like to go to the movies that much.
Yeah.
And that remains one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. It really, I hate to keep bringing it up, but like when he goes to the bar, you know, like all these guys, that movie's not even over yet. You know, he hasn't even gotten into the accident yet. And like he's in the bar and all these tough guys are turning, you know, and like people in the theater, my mom is hysterical. She's crying. She's hysterical. We never see my mom laugh this hard, you know, and it's just like it goes from that to all of a sudden he's in the hospital. And then all of a sudden, the clown's the surgeon. And it's just like, ah, it's so good. This is so good. And then the movie's not even nearly over.
It's so and the dinosaur scene,
everything. And then Kevin and I were talking about this after we watched the documentary. Like when you watch the documentary, he doesn't have to do much at all. He doesn't have to do anything. And that's so prevalent in the scene at the end of the movie where he's playing the bellhop. You know, and so Morgan Fairchild and whatever hottie guy are talking, and they're having this serious conversation, and he's just in the back, and like he's just in the background, just simply moving his eyes, and it is such a good scene. He truly like one of the most brilliant performers.
Oh yeah.
Of all time.
That's the other thing that I found really compelling about the documentary too is he's quite on for a lot of it, and it's interesting because it does seem to be when the director is trying to get like vulnerable stuff from him.
Yeah, he wants to be in control of the information he shares, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think even him hiding the fact that he was terminally ill,
that's wild. But also, yeah, I mean, he was very protective.
Yeah. So all of this happens before Paul Reubens is a children's TV star, but
that's right. That's
premiere,
so wild.
All of this
to think about.
Yeah, but at the premiere of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, an executive at CBS comes up to him and is like, "We think you would be great on a children's TV show." And I love that Paul Reubens is like, "Fuck yes," and he says in the documentary that he thought this would be the way that he could have the ultimate impact on people is by having a children's show. And it's like, look at us. Here we are in our 40s. Look at my office.
Working together, you telling me, bring your roller skates, bring your oversized sunglasses.
Yeah.
We've got business.
Yeah. Like we'll literally have business meetings where I'm like, do we get the baby mask? And then
how many kazoos do we need?
Yeah. Do we have a whoopee cushion? I mean,
how big is it? It better be huge.
I've seen you like bring your dog out of a non-working oven on stage. I mean, you did a whole one-woman show that incorporated roller skating. Like, he had such an impact. I think you are not a person in comedy right now that isn't close to our age and somewhat like impacted by Pee-wee's aesthetic.
Yeah.
And the fact that he calls it Pee-wee's Playhouse, when the one love of his life that he gave up for this career was someone that he was playing house with. That's why that made me cry.
I did not even realize that.
Yeah.
So now he can play house with everyone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a guy.
I know. And this show, I don't know, listener, if maybe you're not our age and you didn't get to see this show, but like it was like everything we're talking about in the movie. Like it was you were in the Playhouse with Pee-wee. Every day there was a secret word, which Andy Cohen still uses on Watch What Happens Live. Andy, you don't have Watch What Happens Live without Pee-wee's Playhouse. I mean, Andy Cohen's clubhouse looks like Pee-wee's Playhouse. And if you said the secret word, if somebody said the secret word, and somebody always did, everybody would freak out.
You'd have to scream.
Yeah.
And you kids at home, you can scream too.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're not getting in trouble for screaming because my mom liked Pee-wee.
Exactly. But it felt kind of naughty and bad, and like what you wanted to do when you were a kid, and like he had all these doohinkies and gadgets in his house that was like exactly what you wished you could have when you grew up.
Yeah, he's talking on the magic phone. He's like, I mean, it was beautiful. He had a genie. He had a globe that talked. He had a pterodactyl. He had a bully who smoked cigarettes.
I mean, and it was so like the aesthetic felt so drag. It felt like now that I'm an adult who like hangs out with a lot of queer people, I'm like, this was queer coded.
I never would have thought that until now as an adult and thinking about that. Like wow.
Yeah.
Again, beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Vibrant.
But again, he's someone who's still in the closet or has gone back into the closet after being out during college, but he's, I think, found a way to bring what he was doing at Cal Arts into fucking children's programming, and also I think make an entire generation of children much more open-minded.
Yes. Do so many things.
Yes.
Without hammering it into us in any way, just simply showing.
Yes.
Look at this.
Yes. And the other thing is, like, it was like we knew Pee-wee was an adult, but he was kind of like one of us.
Yeah.
He in the same way that I think he existed outside of like binary gender, I think he existed out of age too.
It feels like I have this cousin, and she was the youngest of her siblings, and like to me she always felt like she was 19, or at the kids' table. First time I watched MTV, she was on the couch, So like it was almost like that, where it's like you're not a kid, you're not an adult. You're that same sort of and she's older and kids and whatever, but like to me she's still that like 20-year-old who sits at the kids' table.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what he was like. He's just like, it's like, he's older than me, but whatever, he sits at the kids' table.
Yeah.
Or like, and that's kind of how we are. We're aunts.
Yeah, big time.
We're big time. We're good aunts. We're fun aunts. Yeah. And I think of that Beth Stelling joke all the time where a kid goes up to her and he's like, "Are you a mom or are you a kid?"
Yeah. That's what Pee-wee was. It was like, are you a mom or are you a kid? Like, we're here for it. Like, and I think that's what it is to be a creative person or someone that doesn't like walk the traditional line in life. And like, what a fucking awesome subversive thing to have the most popular kids show on television that you didn't even have to have cable to watch.
I never even thought about that.
So truly there's no words for and like, again, at this point he is beyond famous. I mean, the merchandising, he's in every toy store. There's the talking Pee-wee doll. There's the stickers. There's everything. And I think I read some articles about Paul Reubens, and this is a time when actually when he wasn't filming, he would grow out his beard and grow his hair long. And so this is really when he starts to use his alter ego for anonymity. He really likes having the fact that he can change his appearance, and I'm Pee-wee when I'm Pee-wee and I'm Paul when I'm not. But Paul Reubens, again, he was this very talented character actor who wanted to do more than just be Pee-wee. And so after 5 seasons of the show, he decides he's going to not do any more episodes. But the show is supposed to keep running on reruns. So like kids really shouldn't have known anything. Honestly, I think if they had just kept running reruns, I probably wouldn't have known that the show was off the air. I was young. I don't think I knew. You know what I mean? Like I don't remember being aware that it was about to be canceled or anything like that.
I think, well, for me, I know it was like, did it happen in 1990?
1991.
Okay, yeah. Well, that was like the worst time for my family. We were like moving and like there was deaths in the family. So like I didn't really know that anything had changed in Pee-wee's life until somebody was like, "Well, did you hear about what happened?" And then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, we can't like him anymore."
Yeah.
Sorry if I jumped ahead.
No. Well, before we get to that, so here's what's happening. Pee-wee / Paul Reubens decides they're not going to do the show anymore. What is happening meanwhile in Sarasota, Florida is actually independently batshit fucking crazy. Okay. So as we talked about, this is a time in history where the police are routinely entrapping gay people. And that is happening like under the auspices of the law. Sodomy is illegal. There's all these ways that they are just harassing gay people by baiting them. A lot of these quote unquote undercover cops are dressing up and acting like people that want to hook up with other gay people. So why would the gay people? It's just
What do you?
yeah, it's just pure entrapment and harassing people.
ACAB.
So exactly. So Sarasota, Florida is a small beach town. It's a place where like people on the East Coast go during the winter, the snowbirders. It gets a little slow in the summer because of this. Only like 60,000 people live in this community. So it's quite small. Rumors get around. This again is where Paul Reubens is from. So the year before he moves back there, the town is rocked because there's a beach in Sarasota called North Lido Beach. And this beach is like the gay beach. And so what's been happening at this beach is that undercover police are showing up dressed in like cutoffs and beach stuff and harassing gay people there. But what happens one day is they arrest 5 adults, 4 men, 1 woman. They arrest 5 adults, 4 men, 1 woman, all for wearing thong bathing suits.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Come to Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So this becomes like, let me see. Okay. At this point in history, the thong is also sometimes referred to as a teabag. A teabag bathing
I didn't know
suit.
this.
Yeah. Like it had just hit the scene and the people with their panties in a literal wad did not know what to do about teabags. And so they arrest these stupid names. I know.
Oh, they're them evil teabags.
And I was like, okay, I guess it does look like a T,
Yeah.
but it's more of a Y.
Yeah. It's much more of a whale tail.
Exactly.
They couldn't get there yet?
Take it from 2 millennial women. It's a whale tail.
It's a whale tail.
Thank you. So the ordinance they use to arrest these people is that they have decided 5 years previously in Sarasota, Florida, that you are nude in public. If you're wearing clothing that doesn't cover your areolas, if your genitals, or most importantly, anal clefts.
I want them to make the cops say this out loud. You know, and the judges. I want all of the people in authority to have to say this whole thing out loud.
Anal
Without laughing.
Anal clefts?
And if they can say it without laughing, you're off the hook. Show me a Sarasota cop that can't say areolas without either getting a hard on
Yeah.
or cracking a little giggle.
Yeah. Or sweating out their anal clefts.
Showing any, if a Sarasota cop can show any sort of reaction. Boom, fired on the spot.
Hello. Also, I did have to Google anal clefts.
Oh my god, that's horrifying. Because you accidentally hit image. I know. I did that once with dog diarrhea. Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
What did you learn?
Well, I just wasn't sure if a cleft was the crack or if the cleft is like the bottom part where the cheek meets the thigh.
Right. What is it?
It's the crack.
So say crack.
I know, butt crack. You think you sound more adult saying anal cleft? Just say butt crack.
Excuse me, sir, I can see your anal cleft. Honey, the plumber was over and I couldn't stop looking at his anal cleft.
He had a little plumber's anal cleft. Just a bit.
Just a teeny.
So this understandably sets off a huge controversy in Sarasota. The local bathing suit vendor who sells thong bathing suits, teabag bathing suits, he's like, don't tread on me. He arranges a protest in front of City Hall where 20 individuals wearing thongs, storm the steps of City Hall.
Sarasota City Hall.
Joan Rivers broadcasts the event. It gets picked up by Donahue. It's in People magazine. Like, it is a huge, this thong controversy.
I don't think I knew about any of this.
Isn't this wild?
Is this in the documentary?
No.
I didn't think so.
This is a Pop Mystery Pod research. This
is journalism, folks.
This is a song comes out called Don't Ban Teabags.
How do I make this your ringtone?
Right? I love that you switched that mid-sentence. You're like, how do I make this how do I make this your ringtone?
No, like if you ever call me.
Oh,
that's what's going to play.
Great. Yeah, we need to talk to Verizon about that because we do need to.
That's kind of a bop.
It's not bad, right?
Can you find that on Spotify?
It's not, but I will text it to you, of course.
Please.
Of course. So this, and also, while the pro Teabag people are making their case at City Hall, they make the point. We are Sarasota, Florida. We are home to some of the biggest collection of Rubenesque paintings, which are full of what? Butts. Anal
Big
clefts.
butts. Lots of anal clefts and cracks.
Yeah, so it all comes full circle.
Wow, that's incredible.
Isn't that great? So after this demonstration at City Hall and after Joan Rivers and after Donahue and everything, unfortunately, the local police make that bathing suit shop owner's life hell. They come in regularly for inspections.
Of course.
The town is tense. There's like the pro-thong people versus the anti-thong people, and it's all decency at stake. And this is the environment in which Paul Reubens returns home, hoping for a little peace and quiet after he has just ended his long, super successful television show, and he's trying to figure out
where he had to hide himself.
Yeah.
For all those seasons.
Yeah.
He had to hide his true self.
Exactly. Now, here's another thing. Paul, actually, because he's from Sarasota, he had gotten in trouble with the police previously when he first became famous. In 1983, cops in Sarasota arrested him for being at an adult bookstore.
Then why have the adult bookstore?
Thank you. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Right.
Arrest the owners.
Right. Or whatever. Or just
whatever.
Don't ban books.
Don't ban books.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of important information because I do think that the entire police force here, would have known that this very, very famous person was from this town, came here to hide out sometimes, and known that he was a closeted gay man. I do think they knew all of those things because, again, let's remember, like, this was really, Paul Reubens didn't come out of the closet until this documentary. Like, he posthumously came out of the closet.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think he had a target on his head because of that incident.
Yeah.
So this is also, we're in the 90s now, but this theater that he was at, I learned in film school. I wasn't alive during this time, but in the 70s, it was very normal to go see porn in the theater.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. I mean, bring it back, honey. Like, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be regulations. There could be rules.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But let it. I think it would keep some violence off the streets.
Exactly.
Let men go bust a nut.
Give them a dark place to bust a nut. Please. Yeah. But people were going dates to porn theaters in the 70s and stuff. It was like a normal thing. So that's when this theater was erected. So Paul goes to enjoy an adult film, and he shows up to this theater. Now, what Paul doesn't know when he shows up to this theater is that there are two policemen who have been there for hours already.
Wow. What were they doing?
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what they were doing. They were arresting people who were minding their own business. Before Paul even shows up this night, 3 different men get arrested at this theater. So the cops are posing as not even regular theater goers, because in the article I read in the Sarasota magazine, which I will link to that as well, the theater owner was like, no, the cops would come in dressed all like shitty and the customers looked nice. Like, so the cops they just didn't understand. They were so bad at being undercover gay men that they didn't understand that gay men dress well.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. That's such a testament to like what everybody thought of as like the gay culture.
Yeah, like derelicts or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
So, okay, so this night, 3 different people have been arrested. Had Paul gotten to the theater like minutes earlier, he probably would have seen the last person getting arrested. However, he didn't. And according to Sarasota Magazine article, the box office person at the theater had been instructed by the police that if the box office person warned any customers that the cops were there, they would be arrested for obstructing justice.
That's so gross.
I know.
ACAB.
Yeah. 1,000,000 times over.
1,000,000 times.
Yeah. So again, they go in. This just feels like stalking to me.
Yeah.
They apparently, from the police report, it's so detailed that they say at 8:25 p.m. he starts masturbating to a porn movie. Then 10 minutes later, he starts masturbating again. So that means that somebody is in the back of the theater, just watching a stranger masturbate, noting the time, watching it again. So they're just stalking Paul Reubens. As he's leaving, these 2 cops come up to him and they tell him that they're going to arrest him for indecent exposure. And the first thing he says is, well, this is embarrassing. I hate it.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't have his wallet with him. So then he has to go to his car to get it for the cops. And as he does, he says, I'm Pee-Wee Herman.
Ooh.
And it's just like, this is so tragic on so many levels. But it's like this alter ego that had been so protective for him. Really, I think, is what ends up bringing down at least this part of his career, because like had Paul Reubens been more publicly separate from the character of Pee-Wee Herman, I don't know, it was the fucking 90s and everyone sucked, but like the fact that they were so married, it made it so salacious, right? Like,
fuck those cops.
I know,
truly,
I know. Yeah, so he ends up, when he goes to the jail, it's such a small town. That's what I mean. Like, everyone knows everyone. It's such a small town that while he's there, the police chief is supposed to be out on maternity leave, but she happens to be in the office. And she's friends with Paul. And Paul needs, like, $219 cash for his bail. And she loans him $40 because he's $40 short.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Just let him like, clean it up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Wipe it away.
Exactly.
Police chief?
I know. But of course, word gets out and it becomes this huge thing. And kind of like everybody stands up for Pee-Wee.
Not my mom.
What did your mom say?
Ugh, no, he's disgusting. And that's really sad to me, because that's the story that a lot of people got. And then a lot of people just brushed him off after that.
Yeah.
Kind of including myself. I mean, my mom didn't eat seafood. Oh, I hate seafood. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens. And so, I was just kind of like, oh, all right, well, that sucks. You know, I'd already lost my grandfather. I had already moved from New York to Pennsylvania. I already hated 4th grade. Like, everything already sucked. So it was just kind of like, all right, I guess that's it. Pee-wee's a bad guy now. And then I didn't think about it for years.
No.
And then I'm sure it'll come back to me, but something made me watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure again, and it all came back. And I was like, oh, I think Mystery Men. I think it took me until Mystery Men to like, or he like made some sort of like public appear, like he was back in the limelight.
Yeah.
And so Mystery Men made me think like, oh, okay, like he's back. Cool, I'll give him a chance. You know, kind of like, I don't know what I thought. Whatever my mom or whatever the society instilled in me, I'm like, I guess I'll give him another chance. And then I hated Mystery Men. But then I saw Blow, and I was like, oh, he's brilliant. And I think that's what it was. I think Blow, his performance in Blow is impeccable.
Is he a bad guy in Blow?
He's like, they show a clip of it in the documentary. He's like, he basically is himself. He's like very fashionable. I think he's like a coke dealer. Like he's kind of gay.
Now I'm remembering.
He's got like a kind of like long hair. It's so good that I think that's where I was like, oh, maybe I should revisit Pee-Wee Herman.
The whole canon. I know he's in. Quick sidebar. After he gets, let me find this. after he gets his punishment for the indecent exposure, he has to do an anti-drug commercial.
Ugh.
I'm gonna play it for you. Have you seen this?
Rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
He's so good.
I know.
Really trying to put his whole, like, really, he knows he needs to send out a message.
Yeah, and I thought it was also bizarre that they made him do that.
It's crazy that
because
they made him do
what
that.
on earth does crack have to do with masturbating in a movie theater? Well, maybe a lot. Maybe a lot,
but no, that's wild. But so were all of the drug commercials in the
That's true.
80s and the 90s. There was one that was like for crack, and it was like showed the girl like cleaning up her house and stuff, and it's like maybe it kind of looks like a good idea, like,
Yeah, I remember one. I don't know if it was a commercial or like a PSA they showed us in junior high, but I remember my earliest curiosity around weed was from one of those because this girl was like, "It just makes music sound so good and
I
food
remember that.
tastes so good." And I was
Yes!
like, "Well, note to self, gonna be checking that out." Yeah,
I remember being a kid and being like, well, I don't think I'm going to smoke cigarettes, but I would try marijuana.
and we're still trying it. We'll let you know. When we've done enough to have a conclusive result.
I also said in 4th grade, I think I'd probably try LSD. I was always looking ahead in the health books. The health textbooks, I would always skip ahead to the drug unit. Most kids were skipping ahead to the sex unit. I was like, tell me about what the drugs can do to you.
Exactly.
I should have been a pharmacist. That probably would have been dangerous.
Yeah, well, you're an independent pharmacist.
Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. But yeah, no, I mean, this does, I think you're right. It does it really abruptly ended Pee-wee as a person, not as a person, but as a character.
Yeah.
The other thing about, I don't know, I'm looking back on my childhood experience of this story breaking, and it feels similar to me to how I experienced the Clinton blowjob scandal, where it was that was how I found out what a blowjob was. This might have been how I found out what masturbating was. That's the other thing about this kind of purity culture.
Yes, but that's right. People were saying he was playing with himself.
Yeah.
He got caught playing with himself. So I'm like, well, what?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I had to ask around.
Right.
Yeah,
and so then we're getting a game of telephone version of whatever happened in the theater. I know for sure that when I got the telephone version at recess, I promise you I didn't know what a porn theater was.
No.
So somebody just told me, yeah, I think
an adult theater.
An adult.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
They all?
Yeah. Oh, what is there alcohol there?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was they really, it kind of was the Barbra Streisand effect around this, where it was I don't think anybody would have known or cared, or it wouldn't have impacted anybody's life had they just shut this fucking story up, and of course never arrested him in the first place. But they really drew attention to the idea of masturbating in a movie theater.
Well, I feel like the 90s was whenever, not that this comes on in the house a lot, but sometimes news radio, the show will come on, and there's something so carefree about news radio, and even the theme song sounds like everything's great in the 90s, nothing is really that bad in the 90s,
Yes.
And so they had to focus on shit like this. I don't know, that's just one theory.
Yeah, because it was the version of reality that was being projected to us was so sanitized that they almost had to demonize things that weren't real. Well, and these kind of drug commercials, by the way, it reminds me, this is a brag, but I got caught smoking weed in my dorm first week of college. Immediately.
Of course.
Right off the bat. RA comes in.
Congrats.
Thank you. And he's like,
better sooner than later.
I figured I needed to get out of I
Yes.
and this poor kid,
Live the rest of your life.
Exactly. Like, you guys should just know who I am. Yeah, that's me. And I felt so bad because it was one of those situations where like I thought I was just hanging out with a guy, but I think he thought it was a date.
Ugh.
And this guy like never did drugs or anything, and I brought him back with me. And so unfortunately that kid got rolled up in the bus. But there was like 5 of us in a dorm room, and the RA came in and he was like, "All right, who's been smoking weed?" And I just raised my
You're such a good friend.
But then me and my friend Sarah had to make a bulletin board for the dorm about the dangers of drugs.
As your punishment?
As our punishment. Mm-hmm. But that is the punishment fits the crime. This punishment does not fit. Well, it's not a crime.
No.
So I guess, first of all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very bizarre. And then I'm thinking about poor Paul Reubens, who had retired the character of Pee-Wee, who had to put on the suit and the bow tie.
Oh my God.
And like
yeah.
show up to set for this crack commercial.
And be so earnest.
Yeah.
In a character that's just like wants to put on high heels and marry fruit salad.
Exactly.
That's
But
why
I'm
I started laughing. I mean, truly, it's so bizarre to see him.
Yes.
So earnestly holding a crack pill.
But because it's him, like, it really reads like a parody.
Yes.
The lighting,
It's wild.
it's insane. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he does go on to have, like, he is, I really wish this hadn't happened to him for so many reasons, but I will say he doesn't ultimately get pigeonholed in this really formative role that I think could have been like very pigeonholing for him. Like he does go on to act in kind of a lot of stuff.
He kind of makes the comeback.
Yeah.
Like, and they touch on that in the documentary. Like, I really do think that Blow, I don't know, it was like more like not that popular of a movie, but the only reason I saw it is because he was in it.
Yeah.
And he was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, and then I think about him on like 30 Rock.
Oh, see,
He was very funny on 30 Rock.
I didn't really know what else he was doing.
Yeah, I mean he's had like bit parts in different things, and
That's good. I'm really glad about that.
And I think it's a testament to what an amazing character actor he was.
Yeah.
To be someone who was that famous for a character that was like essentially Mickey Mouse to us.
Yeah.
And then be able to like chameleon your way into like a bunch of different projects to where 2 people that love him are like, oh yeah, he was in that, or I think he did other stuff. I mean,
and also meanwhile Mickey's been to jail.
yeah.
But now he's back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just the way the documentary ends is he kind of has a falling out with the filmmaker, and then the filmmaker doesn't think he's going to be able to make the project because he wouldn't have felt comfortable making it without Paul's blessing. And then on his deathbed, Paul like makes this recording where he talks about how much it hurt him to be labeled as a predator, and it's really
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because his intent, I mean, like, he really, one of my favorite Fish quotes is, "Our intent is purely for your delight." And that's what I strive to do in anything that I make. And that's what he was doing. I mean, everything he did was for delight.
Yes.
And for kids and adults, for kids everywhere, for kids of all ages.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, yeah, how earth-shattering, life-shattering, and heart-shattering to, like, have that turned against you.
Exactly.
And you're just so pure.
Yeah. And to have had such a positive effect on so many people in a way that they're going to carry it with them throughout their entire lives, but to still feel that people view you in terms of, like, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that, I'm really glad that I got back on Pee-Wee. I mean, like, I really can't believe how much time went between me thinking about him, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like, getting back into it. And I'm so glad that it's part of my life again because it was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
When I moved out here, I drove across with one of my best friends, Danielle, and we were, like, planning our route. And we were like, okay, do we go to Vegas or do we go see the Pee-Wee dinosaurs? And we were like, the dinosaurs. You know, like
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah. The Pee-Wee dinosaurs, I drove cross country with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I went to get her from the East Coast and we drove across and we ran out of weed like in Tennessee.
That's a terrible place for that to happen.
Thank you.
But also maybe a safe place for that to happen. Because you get pulled over with weed in Tennessee.
Well, don't worry, we found some.
In
But
Tennessee?
yeah, but it wasn't good.
Of course not.
So we're smoking this terrible weed across like the entire country and just, you know. And so we get to...
What a nightmare. Across the entire country.
So we get to California. Finally, we cross state lines, and we're like, we need California weed. The closest place we can find that will deliver to us is
Cabazon.
the Pee-Wee dinosaurs.
Yes!
So we got this miraculous weed delivery at the Habazon dinosaur.
Oh my God. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever eat at the diner that was there when it was there?
No, did you?
Yes, on that trip, Danielle and I ate there. And it was, I mean, I think it was about to close because I'd never seen it again. And it was the diner that it was filmed in.
Oh my God.
I mean, that was one of the best parts of the trip, you know?
Wow.
And I ate a grilled cheese and bacon and I had a cup of soup and we had such a good lunch.
I'm glad you got to go.
I couldn't believe that it existed. Yeah, I'm
And that
really
was-
glad I got to go too.
Was that your first meal on the way to Los Angeles?
I mean, we had been driving across the country, but
after
like,
state line.
yeah, I think so.
So that's like your entrance to
That was my
your new
entrance.
life.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
yeah.
that.
And then I had In-N-Out for dinner.
Okay, so then you were a Californian by breakfast the next morning.
Yeah, I really was.
Erin, this has been just such a delight.
Oh God, I could talk about this for so long. I mean, it was one thing I wanted to say that I didn't remember until just now. It's also so important to like watch this documentary and watch the beginning where he talks about how supportive his parents were
Yeah.
of who he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be a princess for Halloween. Okay. You know, and like what can grow from that?
Mm-hmm.
From when a parent just is like, yeah, be whoever you want to be.
1,000%.
You know, and I mean, you can still grow out of, you know, let's say you want to be the bearded lady at the McDonald's and your mom says, really? Why'd you want to be that? You can still grow into a total weirdo and be happy
Yeah.
with yourself. But what a difference it can make to like have your parents be totally in love with whatever and whoever you are.
Well, and I think that he took so many risks and knew exactly who he was and what he wanted to do. And I
Yeah.
think when you have parents that start you out in life in that way, you're so positioned to live your life in a
Yeah.
very brave fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him so much. And I love that we're connected through him too. Like, yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. Pee-wee and roller skates forever.
Pee-wee, roller skates, Phil Hartman,
Yeah.
all of those things.
All of them. And I know Miss Yvonne died this year too.
I know.
If you, honestly, you guys, what can we say? Just,
Also, Natasha Lyonne. I mean,
I know.
she still remains to me one of the coolest people in my eyes.
oh, I know, nobody's cooler than her. Did you see that she's playing Joan Rivers?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
I know.
I'll see you at the movie theater.
Perfect.